What I would like to do, though, is have us get started, just frankly to honor time, and we'll go ahead and send this out to people. There's a series of questions because one of the things that I noticed as we were filling out the form was, there wasn't a lot of clarity around what is exactly the one thing that we want to prioritize for the next 61 days. And we've got some time. Today is really a conversation to get us started and headed in a direction. But then we've got over the next 3 to 4 days to adjust schedules. So just Friday, I actually went in and completely revamped all of my client meetings, adjusted everything to allow for literally the containers of time. And actually, Qasim talks about this phrase, containers of time, which I really, really love, because in that container, you can do anything you want. But the goal is to set aside the time. And once the time is set aside, then it becomes a habit of whatever happens within that space, but the habit itself is the time set aside. And so I'd like for us to get a little bit more specific than just, I'm going to, for 61 days, I'm going to honor 2 to 3 every day. I'd like for it to be what's the one thing, but that framework of setting aside the time to begin with is really, really important. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and we're just going to dive into the goal of this conversation is to really dive into that. What is the one thing? And then over this next week, as we get more clear on it, please feel free to elaborate and change it. But for now, here's just a series of questions. And I want us, frankly, to be doing this, not sharing it. I'm going to go ahead and do a slideshow. This is going to be a working session. So we've got another 50 minutes set aside to just really dive in. But before we get started, I just want to share a little bit to make sure we're on the same page. Terms really, really matter. And if I'm saying one thing and you're thinking it means another, or vice versa, it's going to be challenging for us to maintain continuity as we move forward. So I'd love to know from each one of you, when we say knowing, what does that actually mean to you? And Kate, if you don't mind starting us off, what does knowing mean to you when you hear this phrase?
To me, it's really understanding myself and who I want to be, how I want to show up, and having it really come from within myself versus what's outside and all of those outside influences. I think especially today, it's really easy to kind of lose yourself in who you are, what you're trying to do, what your focuses are, because we have so much coming at us. So to me, knowing is that centering and really taking the time to look within and shut everything else out.
Yeah.
To really come back to myself, essentially.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Come back to myself. Emmy, what about you? That's so good.
That was so good. I think for me personally, it's allowing everything that I know is inside of me to come out and just being good with it. Just shipping things out without needing things to be perfect or stopping things with the excuse of perfectionism or needing to make things more complicated, but just letting what's supposed to come out and letting it have its own life and energy.
Love that. What about you, Kyle?
Acknowledgement of facts.
Say again?
Acknowledgement of facts. Basically, understanding what's set forth in front of me and perform as well as I can to make sure it becomes reality.
That's so good. Making it a reality. I like that. Cool. Qasim?
It's funny you ask this question because I've been neck deep in Gnosticism recently, which is my new intellectual love affair. And the Gnostics have I don't know if it's a mantra or more of a mission statement, but it's know thyself to know God. And so I think knowing has to do with, I like what you talk about this a lot, Christene Marie. It's not about adding, it's about taking away. It's Michelangelo's statement about sculpting David. I just took away what didn't belong until I got to the root. So I think knowing is getting down to the root.
Guys, I love all of these because each one of these that you all brought, I think that's, in one sense, that's kind of the mindset that we're entering this challenge with. And so it's helpful to hear from each other and add to, there's this concept of adding to knowledge. And to your point, Kyle, around acknowledging the facts, like each one of these are additional things to add to our reservoir of knowledge. And then, you know, this question is more so personal for each one of you, but like, what has knowing felt like? Well, like when you're in that place that you just described, what is the emotional state that comes with it? So for me, I actually am, like, my indicator that I'm in alignment with that kind of inner guiding system, that inner compass, so often is peace. And that doesn't mean I'm sitting on my laurels, but what it means is that, like, I am calm, I am centered, I'm good, no matter what. Kate, you mentioned something like that around like the grounded centeredness. And like, it's really important to know the associated emotion with it, because logically we know, okay, this is the definition of the word emotionally engaging the right hemisphere of the brain. This is what it feels like. So we need to have both the logical definition and then the emotion associated with it. And both of those, especially the emotion, is going to actually be a good KPI for us over the next 61 days. Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Because is the emotion there or not? Kate, what were you going to say?
So I was going to say, like, basically being at peace. Like, I forget exactly what my word is, what the word I was going to use to describe it. But yeah, I like your word of peace, because it's kind of feeling clear. It's feeling focused. It's not feeling anxious. And I think peace just kind of puts that all in a nice bow.
I love that. Yeah, clarity. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, it's hard to have peace without the clarity associated with it. And it's cool because that's really, you know, when it comes to knowing, so much of it is living integrated, the IQ and the EQ working in concert together. And so, you know, so much of what kind of the way that I define knowing is tapping into everything y'all said. It's the practice of remembering in so many ways. Cosme brought up the Michelangelo example, and I just love that. They said, how did you create David? And he said, I got rid of who David was not, and just got rid of the layers and the excess that so often covers us up. And, you know, Kate, you mentioned the voices around us. So effectively, who were you before you were told who to be? Reclaiming that and aligning it with the truth, and frankly, creating, you know, creation. Emmy, you said that songwriting is something that you really want to focus on. Creation, and Kyle, to your point around making it a reality, like creation is actually the natural like outpouring of living from that aligned place, because now we're tapping into our authentic self rather than living on autopilot. If we're on autopilot, we're not creating. And so the more aware we are, the more we're actually going to be able to have creation be the natural result. So why does knowing matter? Just going through some of these points, because frankly, this is so important. You know, why are we doing this? The why is so critical. Even just today, I actually had this moment where I felt not at peace, and my why actually brought me back into peace. It's like the pathway back to peace is the why. So why does knowing matter? There's a cost of misalignment, financially, emotionally, our time. You know, how are we spending our most precious resources? There's a cost there. And then being prepared. If we actually have done this work that we're doing, you know, we're talking today very practically about setting goals for us, but depending on what it is, a lot of times we may actually have misattributed blame or pain for whatever our excuse is that we're not living as we want to. So by taking the time today to set these goals predicated in who we know ourselves to be and who we want to be, Kate, you brought that up too. It's not just who we are today, it's who do I actually want to be? What is the target? What's the goal? And so being clear of both, where am I now? What's my starting line? You know, we actually need to know where we're starting from, so that when we click the gunshot on Friday, we have something to measure it against, but then we also know exactly where we're going. Freedom in the present. There is something about being in the now, right here, right now, that really grounds us and frees us from the anxiety of the future, fear of the future, or even projecting the past on the future. Instead, the present kind of serves as a baseline and a safeguard. But also, it allows for us to dream apart from fear. So if we have done the work to kind of process the past and not have that hanging on to us, we then can dream with hope rather than projecting fear onto the future. And truly living. Someone actually asked this the other day on the Knowing Show. They said, what's the difference between living versus existing? And I thought that, man, that was such a good question. And part of the reason why we're doing this is to truly live, is to experience life. I don't know how many of you had a relationship with Steve Sims, but he passed away early, I guess late last year. And did he live life, like he really, really did. He knew Richard Branson and Paris Hilton, and he was like this concierge, bigger than life person. And he lived and he experienced. And frankly, when he passed away, it just reminded me of this line from this song. I want to live this one wild life. I want to rip it apart. I want to experience life. And so in this 61-day challenge, I really want us to be thinking that way. The goal is experiencing. Experience is actually becoming more important than ever before, especially in this world of AI, where it's like, what's real? One of the things I get asked most on doing the Knowing Show every single day is, are you AI? Exactly. It's wild. And Cosm even told me yesterday, he was like, no, like people might think that you're real, but people will use other people's faces so that technically they're live, but it's an avatar. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Right. It's like, what is real? It's so insane. And then lastly, creation, fulfilling on your purpose. So with this whole 61-day challenge, the reason why I'm starting out talking about knowing is that, well, what am I even called to in order to create a goal to accomplish that? And that really does harken back to knowing. Do we even know ourselves well enough to create goals? And sometimes that goals could be, I want to get to know myself better, or I want to heal, or I want to do the work to actually uncover what am I called to do. And so when it comes to what is our one thing, there's a whole range of options, and we'll get to those in a few minutes. But before we do, the last thing is legacy, creating a life that we're proud of. And we're creating legacy right here, right now. Like this decision to be on this call right now is contributing to the legacy that we're writing and who we choose to hang out with. That's why this group, I didn't want it to be too big, because it's really important that we're only aligning ourselves with people, not only, I mean, at this level of like, we're doing the work, we're linking arms, man, do we have to be in lockstep with each other? That doesn't mean we don't go serve and give and love in other ways, but the people that we lock arms with, that's where we need to have strong value alignment. So legacy is ultimately, at the end of the day, it's like the outpouring is creation and the end result is legacy. And so we're the nucleus, like us investing in ourselves. Everything outside of us is just concentric circles, and you are the nucleus of your own life. You're the hero. And so this time to dedicate to yourself every single day for the next 61 days, and we're starting Friday, but we're starting practicing tomorrow. This is just such a beautiful opportunity to do that, to practice what we know intellectually, but to actually put it into practice so that we start feeling it emotionally and start believing it. It's a big disconnect to know something intellectually, but not integrate it emotionally. So really quickly, these are kind of the three pillars of knowing, the three intelligences: the intellectual intelligence, the IQ, the emotional intelligence, emotions reside in the soul, and spiritual intelligence. We also have physical intelligence. Our body tells us data, but just honestly, for the simplicity of this, I kind of combine the physical, because it touches a couple different buckets. It touches the emotions, it even touches the spiritual, where when we have remembrances or things come up for us from the past, so often it manifests in our physical body, whether it's intellectual, spiritual, or emotional. Hi, Larkin. Thank you for joining us. I'm so glad you made it.
Hey, I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, we were just going through why knowing matters before we get started on developing our 61-day challenge and what the nuances of that are going to be. So with that, I'm just going to quickly go through, what does emotional intelligence mean? This is actually one of my favorite things, because I don't think that I can remind myself of this enough. And so I figured, why not remind you all? Emotional intelligence is the capacity to be aware of, control, and express one's own emotions. And then it's the ability to handle interpersonal relationships judiciously and with empathy. So we really cannot be that good partner, parent, even just partner in terms of relationships, interpersonally, but also professionally. So it's across the board. We really cannot show up in a way that really gives and serves to the extent that we should and can, apart from doing the first part of the work, which is to become aware of. And awareness is the first step. So as we create throughout this next, 40 minutes or so, what our 61-day challenge is going to be, it's actually important that we become aware of, is anything actually coming up in us around what we say we want to do that could be an indication or just a data point of like, oh, I'm actually going to run into some obstacles here, or I'm actually nervous or fearful of that. Actually Qasim 3 years ago, he gave me we started the 61-day challenge together. We gave each other one thing that we wanted the other person to do based on how we wanted the other person to grow. And he said, I want you to write one thing you love about yourself every day. And I literally was like, I will run another marathon, which I hated and promised myself I would never do again. I just hated the thought of doing that. So I had a very visceral emotional response, which indicated I needed to go do that. So being aware of our emotions is I use it really is a data point. Like I use data intentionally here because it has something stored. That emotion is storing information for each one of us to pay attention to. So as we go through this process, as we're writing down, as we're discussing with each other, be aware of what emotions are coming up because there's data in there. And so often that's a trigger sign and warning for you and me that that's where work needs to be done. That's where we need to shine the light there and expose what's going on. Self-induced awakening is the ideal. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're going into the arena together. We're self-inducing frustration. We're self-inducing pain. We're self-inducing growth rather than waiting until something tragic happens in our life or we go through a series of brokenness or trial or something external, but rather we're doing the work to actually self-induce some semblance of pain for the purpose of growth on the other side. We talked about this earlier. Say again, Kyle.
Basically, strength training.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to the gym. That's so good. All right, cool. We're going to be going through a couple of questions here, diving into the one thing, and then creating our action plan together. These are for you all to just journal on, and I'm actually going to be filling it out myself because I'm going to be doing, obviously, the challenge with y'all. I would love for you guys to ask or answer these two questions. What was a formative moment in your life? And what is life-giving to you? So I'm going to actually set my alarm here for just a few minutes, and I'll let you guys know when we're done. But if you guys can write that down privately, and if you want to put it in the chat, I'd love to see, but I really want you guys to feel free to do this without the risk of like, oh, I've got to share it. So go ahead and answer these two questions. What was a formative moment in your life? Ideally, the most formative. A lot of times our earliest childhood memory is really an indicator that was formative. So what was a formative moment in your life or earliest childhood memory? And then what is life-giving to you? What actually feels like you're filling your cup? And I'm going to go grab my charger while we answer this. Love it. How are we doing? Good.
Perfect.
Is anyone done?
Yep.
Okay. Kate, are you done?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, we're going to go to the next slide. What is your purpose? And I'd like at first for you to just kind of think through this. I have a follow-up question to this, but first I'd love for you to just kind of answer organically, like what comes up for you first? Like, don't try to contrive it, but what first comes to mind? Why are you here? Now to just make it a little bit more practical for this season, for this quarter, what does that purpose look like in a confined time? And it could be for the first half of this year. Awesome says heal. Wow. Now, what is your why? Remember, I was saying how effectively my why brought me into the present moment, and it really is the pathway to the outcome of the emotion associated with knowing, which is peace. So our why keeps us moving forward. It really brings us back to, frankly, it not just brings us back into the present, but it also brings us back into like a deeper, more grounded purpose that withstands time and space. So it's like something at our core. It's effectively, it's almost existential because it's outside of our physical body, but it really does ground us in something bigger and outside of us. So what is your why? And I want you to think of it, for the purpose that you wrote down, for the bigger term, I guess you could say, kind of your life's calling that you feel as of right now, not for this season. So what's the why for this? Hi, Omid. Thank you for joining us. We've just been asking some questions here. I'll go ahead and drop them here in the chat. And then if you are able to go through and just kind of answer them, you can do it on your own time. But one of the things that we really want to be diving into is identifying what is the core thing that we want to focus on for 61 days to lead us through the end of this quarter. And we're just going deep on who we are and what it could be that could be the one thing. And then we'll conclude this time in about 30 to 40 minutes, just with some more clarity around the thing that we're choosing to lead us over the next 61 days. Qasim, you said, I think that this is the thing that I struggle with the most. I don't know my why yet. I would, if you are able, I would love for you to really lean into what just comes to mind at first and just kind of free flow right about why does freedom matter to you? And like what, asking why it matters is a good way to just kind of start unpacking it. And what you could even say, you could do the reverse engineering, which is I wish, when it comes to freedom, like I wish I had never had to worry about finances. I wish, and you can kind of do that looking back in the past, because so often our life's purpose has to do with that formative moment in childhood, and not always, or it could be rooted to what's life-giving for you. So like you said that you love your children, they're so life-giving for you. Maybe freedom actually has to do with them. And then also creation, like what's life-giving is creation. And so how does could creation be tied at all to freedom? Because when I look at like there's a direct through line for my formative moment, what's life-giving for me, and then my purpose. And so that's why we're asking these questions in sequence, is because there's so often something that carries through from those early childhood moments that frankly really taught us, man, do I care about this one thing, or I care about these people, or I care about, to your point, freedom. And if anyone else is struggling with, what's your why? Like, why is that your purpose that you wrote down? I love, Larkin says, because I want. And I actually think that that's a really good way to phrase it, like, because I want this, or because I wish this had never happened, or because, for me, my purpose is to bring emotional health and healing to leaders, because I know that they can make the impact. But my real because is because I experienced my life falling apart as a result of not having it. Therefore, because of that, I'm so incredibly passionate about this. And the through line is that when I was 3 years old, I was effectively emotionally stunted, and I didn't continue to progress emotionally and like mature emotionally, because when I was 3 years old, I had Lyme's disease. And when I cried because my knee hurt, I was spanked for it, because my parents and my caretakers didn't know that I had a disease. They just thought I was being like a bad kid, which, neither here nor there. But what happened to me at a formative moment in childhood shows up in my purpose later on. And the because is tied so much to both of those moments. And then what emotionally compels you to this? So again, it's the head knowledge, but also is there a key emotion to this accompanied and associated with your why? Honestly, I actually was motivated for this, towards this purpose a lot of times at first, because I was really pissed off that my husband left. Sometimes anger is a really good way to reveal what we care about. So what is your current emotion related to this? Okay. So the The who is impacted is the next question. Just really identifying like who are the people. And the reason for this is because we want to be able to fill in the blanks. Like my purpose is put in what is that? Because here's the why. So that who is, will, can, etc. And then what's the transformation? How are they changing as a result of what it is that you'll be doing? Hey, Crystal. We are going through a couple of questions here just to really help us understand what is going to be our one thing for the 61-day challenge. We've been just unpacking, you know, what is my purpose? Why do I feel like I'm here? And then why is it? And then now we're kind of getting to the point where we fill in the blanks where it's my purpose is, insert the blank. What is it? Because why? Why do you care about this thing? What's the story there? And then so that who are you impacting? And then what is the transformation of your purpose on their life or on their business, on their family, on their community? Cosm says, my purpose is freedom because I want to matter so that the people I love, especially my children, can find the path to their purpose paved with at least one more stone. That's beautiful. I love that. Cosm, I would even, if you're up for it, I would perhaps, you know, on the back end, the transformation, find the path to their purpose. I think it's, man, like how many stones do you want to put there? Like dreaming big because you're making such a big impact. That's so beautiful. I'd love to see anyone else who wants to put their fill in the blanks here. Awesome. I love Larkin. That's so good. That was so well said. Anyone else want to drop down their my purpose is statements? And this doesn't have to be locked in stone, but frankly, it's just really, really helpful because now we have something to work backwards from. We'll give another minute or two and then we'll dive into the one thing. Okay. The one thing. So, oh, Emmy, I just saw yours and Kyle's. Kyle, you said my purpose is to be able to do for myself without being under anyone else controlling my life. Freedom. Let's go. That's so good. My purpose is to release and express my creativity because that is the purpose of my life, so that I can be an example to others of what is possible when you listen to your intuition and take bold action. Love that. So good, y'all. I love this. And y'all, these are some of our, some of these are like our statements for when the going gets rough. It's like, this is the why. This is going to keep us focused. Kate, my purpose is inspiring and guiding entrepreneurs to build a business that allows them time and financial freedom to live life to the fullest. Love that. Beautiful. Cool. All right. So let's go to the one thing. So who do you need to become in order to achieve this year? Like, I want us to get really, really clear on what's the one thing that we really need to change about who we are in order to get to the next level. And so obviously what we're writing down here is big and grandiose in terms of like, what is our calling? What's our purpose? How do we want to end our life? Where do we want to end our life at? So at the end of 2026, and even just at the end of the 61 days, who do we want to be at the end of the 61 days to get us a little bit closer? I'll give you an example. I started out this year, and it has been so very clear to me that the biggest area of growth for me is discipline. To literally do the thing that I know that I need to do, which is waking up in the morning, to do, like, live according to a schedule and to live according like children do. I was hearing my sister talk about my niece, and she was saying, she's in a mentorship program at school. She's leading chapel every morning. She's singing and like playing piano, and she's doing voice and piano lessons. And she's also the secretary of the entire middle school. I'm like, dude, this girl, and she's doing all her homework, and she's helping her parents move and helping with her baby brother. And I'm like, how is this kid, this 11-year-old little girl, doing all this stuff? And I realized it's because she's living according to a schedule. Every single week looks exactly the same. Every single day is predictable. So my goal for the next 61 days is to live so boringly predictable for the purpose of peace and partnerships that need to be developed in order for me to get closer to my purpose being achieved. So that's for me. Like, discipline is my one thing. And then obviously it needs to manifest in certain ways. But who do I need to become? I need to become so disciplined. That's a big change that I need to be making. And I've been traveling so much and living around the world. It's been beautiful and wonderful. And I need to stop for the next 61 days. Like, I need to come home and just be. So I need to become disciplined. That's who I need to become. So I'd love for you guys to think about that. Qasim, you said I need to, oof, good for you. I need to stop being a victim and start being the hero, the king archetype. I'd love, Qasim, for you to define that. What is hero? What does hero mean? What is the king? Like, who is the king internally? And I think you've done this before, but I'd love to see it. Kyle, you says, I want to be able to honor the sacrifice my ancestors have made for me to succeed. Wow. Hot dog, that like deepens I guess it heightens the stakes a little bit. It's like, okay, that's a high call. I love that. It's for them, That's so good. That's so good. Kyle says, I must learn to how to organize and focus for the sake of forward progress. So good. And Kyle, I'd love even for you to think through, like, what is a quality like that you personally need to cultivate in order to do that, but like who?
That's where I'm at a loss.
So I'm just going back to what you said. We can workshop this a little bit. I need to learn how to organize and focus for the sake of forward progress. How do you do with habits? Do you, like, what does your day-to-day look like? Is there continuity and consistency?
Consistently, just not very progressive.
Mm.
Kind of stagnant. I mean, I exist, and that's about it. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm wondering if maybe for your 61 days, you make that container of time. And that's, creating the space and getting into a habit of, for me, my mornings are really, really sacred. If I can get my mornings under control, and you can choose what time of day, but usually at the beginning of the morning, we actually have the most energy. In the book, The One Thing, since we're talking about the one thing so much, they talk about, an energy pack. Our day, we start at 100%, and like a battery or like our phone, it dwindles down throughout the day. So if we really want to get that organization and focus, the morning is really the best time to do that. So I'm actually wondering if you set aside two things or one thing that you'll do every single morning where you're like, okay, I'm going to wake up at 8 o'clock every single morning. And from 8 to 9, I'm going to whatever that is. And that's where it's like, what is the thing that you feel like I started going live June 23rd. I've been live 216 days since then. Almost everyone in my life was like, why are you doing that? And I just had this feeling like this is something I need to do. I need to keep my word to myself. So that's who did I need to become? I needed to be somebody that I could trust, because I always talked myself out of things. So that was the inner part of me was like, okay, I need to change that. I need to prove to myself. But then for doing it, I felt like there's something here. I just had like this, I guess, creative idea that this is going to be something that's good. So I'd love for you to kind of think through that. I think whether it's discipline, that's kind of the concept that you want to take on, or habits. Like I need to, in terms of who do I need to become, I need to adhere to a schedule. And so in order for like the who in that in that regard of like the quality, I'd love to hear everyone's thoughts here, and all of us. This is a participatory community. Before I share some words or qualities that come to mind, does anyone else have any thoughts here? Kasam, I know that you're like the king of habits. You really cultivated that. So like, what was the quality that you felt like you needed in a healthy way in order to execute that?
I think that the problem that I run into with this discussion is when I was the most habituated, I don't think it was exceptionally healthy. I think it came from a place of self-loathing. And so the thing that I'm playing with now is, well, how do I execute at that level without it being punishing? Because most of my performance has been a punishment. A punishment at worst, but at best it was something like striving. It was like just trying really hard, just this desperate need or desire to achieve, which is also shadowy. It doesn't feel like it comes from, it definitely doesn't come from abundance. It doesn't come from love. It doesn't come from those things. And so this strange irony, and I guess it's not strange at all, is not having something to run away from. I'm actually not a very motivated person, I found, which is interesting. Like if given the opportunity to run towards something, it just doesn't seem to activate me as much, or at least I haven't found the thing that I want to run towards. Like I'm really good at running away. Like if you put a lion or a tiger or a bear behind me, I suddenly activate, and that's when I perform the best. And it might be why I invent lions and tigers and bears in my life. But sans existential crises, I kind of just get fat and lethargic and sort of complacent. So I wish
Yeah.
I had a better answer than that, but it's something I struggle with.
You saying that reminds me of the book Choose Your Enemies Wisely by Patrick David, where it is actually, I don't think that that's a negative thing to create effectively an enemy, you know, something that is externally motivating us forward, because as long as it's self-sourced with intention, where it's like, I know, for example, who's the Patriots guy, the quarterback? Somebody help me.
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Thank you, Emmy. Tom Brady, his enemy was when everyone said, oh, he's 40, he can't do it. And he was like, well, I'm going to show you. I'm going to be the best. So it wasn't necessarily that he was like, I hate this person. But man, it was like, I am going to do it. And, you know, one of the things that for me, I was like, I know that I'm on the right track when I start getting people hating me. Like that to me is actually a benchmark of success. So I actually think it's really important that we get really clear on what are those benchmarks of success. Larkin just says, I need to continue being ruthless, forgiving who I was and intentional about who I will be. I love that. Like, who do you want to be? And I think being super, super clear on that, Larkin, to your point, and you said this, Kate, right at the beginning, part of knowing is knowing who do I need to become and who do I want to be? So it's not motivated, Qasim, you mentioned, you know, it's not motivated out of fear or infliction of pain, but almost out of love over like keeping your kids in mind. I'm doing this for them. You know, that's where having clarity of our purpose, even if it's going to evolve, but y'all, I would encourage you like to write that out and stick it somewhere. My dad used to print out these, during a time in his life where he was struggling with anger, he printed out these Bible verses and put them in his car since he drove so much to different job sites and just ingrained it in his brain. You know, speaking it out. When I wrote my eulogy when I turned 30, I read it daily and I turned it first person, present tense, and I said, I am. And every single day I read this thing. And, you know, I have this mantra of I am vulnerable, I am brave, I am, you know, all these I am statements. And so I actually think that maybe it is working our way backward from who do I want to be? And if I really want to be that person, that's the self-propelling force to guide me there. Any thoughts on that?
I definitely get it. Definitely.
Love it.
It's almost like you have to decreate who you become to become who you want to be.
Yeah. So maybe Kyle, this is actually an interesting exercise. If you're up for doing this after, I would identify what's your baseline. And we're actually going to get to that here in just a few minutes. What's like your baseline? Where are you starting from? And then effectively, who do you want to be in each one of those categories? So part of my knowing framework is, who was I? What were some formative moments in my life? How does that show up today? And then who do I want to be in those categories? So that I have a direct before, during, after, you know, all of these 3 steps. And so we'll get to that here in a few minutes, but I'm glad that we leaned into this because I think that this is really, really important. And you're so right. It is like, where am I starting from? And then how do I want to change? Kate says, I need to put myself out there more, market myself, network, share my knowledge and story. I need to stop hiding in my comfort zone and letting people come to me. Doing so will allow me to help more people. I love that. It's your why. So good. So good. Emmy says, I need to be someone who releases and markets my music before I think it's ready. An imperfect action taker. Mark, and I need to continue being ruthlessly forgiving of who I was and intentional about who I will be. So good. Okay, so then what do you need to do in order to be this way? You know, Larkin, for you to continue being ruthlessly forgiving of who you were and intentional about who you will be, what do you need to do? So being and then the doing, like the internal transformation, which is effectively radical responsibility. Radical responsibility is all the inner work. Taking radical action towards our inner life to change our mental pathways, to change the old programs, and then activating agency over everything external. How do I show up in the world by our doing? So being and then doing. So what do you need to do to get to the next level?
I just wanted to share. I feel like this is kind of why I was supposed to be here today. So a big message that I've been receiving this year has been the question of letting go of my suffering, because I'm working on just creating systems and delegating things in my business. And because I just feel like, I have 4 kids, and so often we're so willing to help and give to other people and help make other people's lives better. But I think the really cool thing about business is that it's really, I look at it as not just creating wealth or, creating things for other people, but I look at it as it's really a personal development system to develop self-love for yourself, because it's just like abundance is so related to, do you believe you're worthy and deserving? And do you believe that you, like, are you willing to do what it takes to create the impact to love yourself in that way? So that's how I always look at it. It's like, am I taking the action of someone who truly loves themselves, in terms of having deep empathy for myself and like being the person that I am for other people in the world.
I love that. Am I taking the action of someone who truly loves themselves? That is so good.
It's funny because I feel like the creator has been trying to get me to love myself like I love others for the longest. And I've been trying to figure that out.
I block myself with businesses or like I block myself by being a high achiever and other things. And I know I need to focus on my music and like start letting go of other things that I'm good at and that I'm comfortable at, that my identity has attached to, because my music is the thing I run away from through other things, because I tell myself, well, there isn't time for that, or like it's not a large money creation vehicle, so it doesn't deserve my time and attention. But that's just a story that I've been telling myself, because every time I have put energy into the thing that like really does light me up inside, it's always made money. It always has.
Yeah.
Like it's just like, why am I running away from the thing that is truly, and it is like me, and it is like the true self-expression of myself. And like, why do we all do that?
Yeah, it's so true. Gosh, wow. That's I was about to say, and you just held up a big mirror, so thank you. That's so good. What else? Qasim says, I need to execute on my morning habits and morning routine at all costs. Qasim, you had said that your word for this season or this quarter was healing. So I'm wondering, how is that like gonna help propel the healing?
I think the morning routine is the thing that sets the pace for literally everything else that I want and I need to do. And honestly, without that, and I've been witness of this for 20 years, if I don't do my mornings, I literally don't do anything. Then the whole rest of my life I'm just playing catch up. So the morning needs to come first, and if my morning comes first, then everything else falls right into place.
I'm even wondering, would it actually make sense to incorporate some element around like research or outreach, or just like an hour every day or 30 minutes every day, like really one thing truly dedicated to health, very specifically, like your healing. When we did the Known Founder in August, it really was like, that is the thing above all else. Like, you have to be healthy. So I'm actually wondering, I know that you've taken steps since then. Like you've blocked off time in the morning for creation, but I'm actually wondering if blocking off time in your morning for health and researching that.
Yeah. So for everybody on the call, I have heavy metal poisoning, both mercury and lead, and there's no accepted medical remediation, which is frustrating. It's like, it's not that there's something to do and I'm not doing it. It's that I don't know what to do. And so to Christine's point, maybe learning and research, maybe those are the needle movers. I think a lot of it might be meditation. I think if there is based off of what I'm reading, if there is something to do, it could be putting myself in a position where at least mentally and emotionally, I'm not creating the blocks that would inhibit detox pathways.
Yeah.
So I think, within my morning routine, meditation for sure. The research piece, I think there's a lot of merit to that. So I think I'm going to add that to my list. Thank you. That's really, really good advice.
I'm so glad you brought up meditation, because that honestly, there have been seasons where you've done that and it's been better. So
Yeah.
I love that. So 61 days, let's get really, really specific about this. How will you live over the next 61 days then? So given who you need to become, what you need to do, like what's one thing? So Qasim, since we were just chatting about your morning routine, maybe it is like, I'm going to do an hour meditation for 61 days. And what that, you can do it in any time of the day, unless for you, I know you like your containers of time, but I mean, that's a big commitment, that's a challenge, which is what this is. Like, could you commit to a 1 hour meditation every day for 61 days?
Yeah, well, can I ask, and feel free to reprimand me if I'm cheating here a little bit, but from just this particular activity, meditation specifically, it's not time-based. My experience with meditation so far has been once I've dropped in to a certain level, I feel the benefit. And sometimes it takes me 10 minutes and sometimes it takes me 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I think the KPI for me is, meditate to completion. And I'm using air quotes because anybody that's meditated knows there's no such thing as completion. But meditate to completion is as I'm defining it. Yeah, meditate to where I finally feel like I've achieved centeredness. And, if that means one day I have to go 2 or 3 or 4 hours, or if I have to like do it again and again, like it doesn't work in the morning, so I do it in the afternoon. It doesn't work in the afternoon, so I do it in the evening. Like that to me feels, that feels congruent. And that's absolutely something that I can commit to.
Love it. That's a really, really good point. Great. Who else? Who's got something really specific that would be effectively like an action associated with who you need to become or what you'll do? And if you guys want to have some like brainstorming here, please do. But for those of you who at least know, what's coming to mind for you guys?
I know I need a network and kind of get myself out there and try to reestablish myself, because I'm in a totally new place, totally away from anybody or anything that knows who I am and what I'm capable of. So I've been kind of held back from being who I can possibly be.
Right.
So I need to start getting around to some body shops and whatnot out here, or house painters, whatever, just to know my ability so I can actually be fruitful
Good for you.
instead of just sitting around here just watching the building all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Where do you live, Kyle?
I'm in Bakersfield, Cali.
California. Okay. What's like one practice you could commit to for 61 days? Like more networking. What does that sound like, look like?
Start visiting these different body shops out here, because there's quite a few of them, and that's my main art is I build custom cars, and I haven't done it in so long, and I needed to get back into it because that's where I'm the most fruitful. So
Nice. Do you have business cards?
no, I haven't in a while. I shut down a perfectly functional shop in Cincinnati to move out here thinking I had a job, and it ended up being a big old scam, and
Oh no.
I've just been spiraling downward ever since.
You know what? I love that we've got a week effectively to prepare to start on Friday. So I think, Kyle, what could be interesting is that if you took the next 2 or 3 days to create whatever it is, even if I know that people are using different forms and modalities right now. And Kate, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I know you said more networking. So I'm curious what's working for you, but either creating a business card, just getting them printed at Staples. You can get a pack for like 15, 20 bucks. Even just updating your LinkedIn, posting pictures ahead of time, but really doing the work so that on Friday, it's like every single day for 61 days, I'm going to go to a different shop. Like that's a big commitment. And man, if you're not having a job, that's such a good use of time. You're getting outside, you're really actively doing something, and you're proving to yourself that, man, you're going to take action on behalf of you and honor the people who came before you.
Right. It's funny though, because I've always had this problem of not being able to work for others, either because I'm hard headed or I'm stuck in my own ways, which has always been successful for me because I always end up getting my own shop and doing quite well. So it's like maybe I need to humble myself and just learn to work for others for once in my life.
What a word.
So you had asked Christine, what were some things? So from like a daily, once a day perspective, maybe you could make it so that each day you reach out to one person or three people, and just write whether they're immediate contacts that you might be able to work with, or they're people who could get you closer to the people that you want to get to. That's
true.
something, because I was going to say like maybe trying to have like a lunch or a coffee with someone every week. But if you drill that down to like what can you do every day, maybe it's reach out to X amount of people each day with the goal of like maybe having a meeting or a coffee or something once a week.
That's a good idea. I
That's
like that.
good. Yeah. Awesome. Kate, what's yours? I saw that you put it here in the chat. What's your one thing?
To put out a piece of content each day on LinkedIn or Facebook and Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a little cliche, but I think that's honestly where I'm at now in terms of being able to grow, have more people know about me, and be able to ultimately help more people. Because everything right now has just kind of been like referral or people reaching out or people recommending me. So yeah, just putting myself out there and sharing my story, sharing what I do and how I can help people, I think will help me kind of fulfill that purpose on a larger scale.
Good. Honestly, these one things don't have to be massive. The goal is that we can do it. Like as long as we can commit to doing it every single day. And again, it's the lever that's going to swing the big door. So I love that. Larkin, what about you?
Sorry, I had it muted. So I've learned the biggest villain in my story, at least right now, is time management. I've got a dozen things that I know as soon as I get done, those are going to make a massive difference in, just everything that I'm working towards. So I have started developing a framework to become a master of my time. And I'm not there yet, but I'm getting there. And as soon as I get that done, then I'm going to be able to really kind of demand and command that ship. But it's a very pragmatic thing that I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out, how can I get this stuff, better.
Were you on Qasim's New Year's Eve mastermind call?
I was not. No.
Qasim, do you mind sharing about the containers of time? Because Larkin, I actually wonder if this one thing could be a container of time every day for 61 days. That could just really serve. That was probably one of the best calls Qasim's ever done.
And I missed it.
I know, but hey,
That's why it was so good. Larkin wasn't there to drag it down.
Right? Yeah.
Just kidding. Love you, buddy. The containers of time is a thesis developed after honestly 20 years of failure of trying to be rapidly disciplined with my time. I mean, I've gone all the way down as literally being scheduled to 5 and 15-minute increments. I think all of us have at certain points, attempted that. And so I approach y'all not as an expert, but as an addict who has maybe found something that serves better than the drug that I was using, which is something like it's like a cocktail between motivation and self-flagellation. So anyway, I guess the only reason I had to preface with that is because this is built to fail. And that's what was most important for me, is it's built to allow for the humanity, as opposed to treating yourself like a robot or treating yourself like an automaton or treating yourself like you're an Olympic athlete. Because all of us have just things that go wrong, and we're parents or children or siblings or so the containers of time puts yourself in a position to where the thing that you're defending isn't the act, it's the container. I'm trying to find a better word, Christine, because you don't want to use the word in its own definition. But if you say to yourself, like, oh, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to work out every single morning. Well, no, you're not. You at some point, you're going to get sick or something's going to go wrong or the electricity in your house is going to go out and your alarm's not going to go off or, something catastrophic is going to happen, God forbid.
Yeah, life.
And that's not going to happen. Life's going to happen. And then when you fail, inevitably, statistically, the likelihood of failure, of subsequent failure, increases by something like 1,000x, and so on and so forth. And so actions and activities are near impossible to maintain. But what can be maintained in almost near perpetuity is the container within which they exist. And so if you have, a morning container that you generally plan on working out, but the day that workout fails for whatever reason, you don't benchmark the success against the workout. You benchmark the success against your maintaining that container, and just holding that time. And what it does is it allows you the flexibility that's necessary to attend to real life and then still maintain the habit. How did I do that, Christene Marie? The whole thing is recorded, so anybody who wants it, it's absolutely free inside of my school community, and y'all can have it. But feel free to add in. I feel like I did a much better job in the actual presentation than I just did right now.
I mean, go ahead, Larkin.
No, I was going to ask, which school community is it, Cassim? Is it the 3X or the?
Yeah, the 3X Freedom School community. That's where I all my content gets lobbed in there. So everything's free and will be forever. There's no assumption of sales pitch for the people on this call. And this one, I forget what it was called, but it was the end of year planning. I don't even know that I believe in goal setting much anymore, as it were. It's not that I don't believe in it. I think goal setting is super important. Here's the thing: is everybody's good at it. So it's not that I don't believe in goal setting. It's that I feel like we've all kind of like, if you're on this call, you're good at goal setting. You know what I mean? You're the type of person. It's Sunday, y'all. Like you should be, drinking or doing drugs, and you're not. Like you're on a call where you're trying to know yourself. Like you are already good at goal setting. The next step for those of us that are good at goal setting is creating the containers in our life that would allow for the execution of the actions that would lead us to those goals.
Actually doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually doing what we say. Yeah. I think that's, I'm so glad you said that. We probably should have opened that way because ultimately, Kate with just starting, although I will say, when I started going live, and that's kind of what started this whole 61-day challenge is because the exercise that Qasim gave me, write one thing you love about yourself every day, which just was horrifying. I did that. I already had the container in space. I think of it as kind of like what's like a space, like a dedicated space where I go every single morning. But I like the containers of time because it's just so clear and obvious. But every single morning, I've been doing my vertical alignment, which is effectively that container of time. It's a practice, a ritual every single morning. It's the very first thing I do. So when I look at what time do my meetings start, when I look at any extracurricular activity, everything is after my vertical alignment, and then I work backwards from there. So now I'm waking up at 5. At some points in my life, I was waking up at 4. And even if I wake up later in the day, I always do my vertical alignment. So I just stuck in that challenge in that pocket of time that was already curated and already set aside and effectively sacred. These containers of time are sacred. Nobody gets to impede on that time. So when I started going live, though, it was whenever it fits. I actually didn't have a pocket of time, which made it a little bit more challenging. I did put my schedule every single weekday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern, and because I would have guests and they'd register for that time or reserve that time. And then on the weekends, I would aim for a time, but it was a little bit more fluid. And the fluidity for me was what I needed because I was still in this time of travel. So for me to get to that next level now, I have to be disciplined so that I can optimize what I'm already doing. So for me, the first step was just do the thing. Like at any time, it doesn't even matter. But if time management is something that we know we struggle with, I think that for these 61 days, it's, you know, actually my one thing is to every single day at 7 or every single day at noon, whatever it is, blocking off the calendar to do the work. And that could be, I don't know, Larkin, if that's helpful for you, but man, that container of times thing really, really flipped the whole paradigm on its head for me.
Yeah, it really is. It's interesting because Cassie, when you said, that you were scheduling things down to the 15-minute mark. I mean, effectively, that's what I've been doing here lately. And kind of looking at what you're saying with segmenting it by a container, not necessarily just, earmarking times. Um, yeah, I can definitely see how, that has longer sustainability than, being, master of my calendar.
Mm.
So I'd really like to look at the recording.
I'll see if I can find that in the school community and drop it in. What I'd love, and Larkin, I actually need you and Crystal both, if you guys don't mind just filling this out, I'll go ahead and send that recording to everybody because it was so good. But if you can fill out Crystal and Larkin, both of you, so I can get your phone numbers and emails. I'm going to be setting up a WhatsApp thread and then sending everybody the recording there for everyone to listen to that. And y'all, that's so helpful. You know, we've got 4 days over the next week before we start Friday. And so listening to that, really getting more clear. And then frankly, this is actually, before I get to that, Crystal, did you have, and Emmy, do you guys have the one thing? Have you guys gotten more clarity on that in terms of what that will actually be?
Yes.
Awesome. What is it?
For me, I'm trying to decide how far I'm gonna go with this. Like, am I gonna put a lot of pressure on myself to like really show up, or if I'm just like gonna
Phone it in.
be gentle with myself. So
yeah.
being gentle with myself is spending 30 minutes a day, either writing or marketing my music and making myself visible. I think the other one that I'm like scared of is like, oh no, that's the one I'm supposed to do because I'm terrified of
Right.
is to spend an hour a day at minimum working on my music, but also documenting it in real time.
Yes. Oh,
and putting that online, documenting that, and then releasing a song a week, because that's like really like a hard, that would be a really hard push visibility. I think
that's the right answer.
Yeah, I know, because it's like I'm like, oh, that's terrifying. Yeah. So I think that's probably the one, because that's really like being imperfect and just like letting it go and just showing people that like, oh, I'm gonna hate that. But
It's promoting your growth. I mean,
yeah, I'm gonna hate that so much. Yeah.
Oh, good for you. Oh my
it's a happy
gosh.
hate.
Thank you, everybody, for that.
The ones that make us want to cry a little bit. That's the one that we.
Well, I'm crying. Yeah. I always feel like when your intuition like really feels heard and seen, it like it moves through you in that way. Yeah.
Like that's it. That's so brave. I love that. I love what Crystal said. You'll love it. It'll be so rewarding. And guys, in the WhatsApp group, Emmy, every time you go live, drop that, or every time you document it, drop the link there, drop the song in. And guys, that's what we want to be supporting and cheering each other on, to your point, Crystal. And same thing for you, Kate, as you're going live. Kyle, take pictures of you doing the work, like documenting the 61-day challenge. For all of us who need more social fodder, this challenge is, and you can make it however you want. Even if you're just like, hey, I decided that I want to do this, it doesn't have to be a whole big, like, I don't know. It doesn't have to be a formal thing. Just for you, if you're looking for more content, talk about how you're trying to grow. The most vulnerable posts have gotten the most engagement because people really, they're like, oh, I see her. That's definitely not AI. And they see themselves in it, And so this is great content. Crystal, I don't know if you have the opportunity or ability to come off mute, but would love to hear what yours is.
I think I'm starting with little baby steps at this point to allow it to reveal itself. I have some ideas around the scary stuff and just not quite as brave as I'd like to be. Yeah, so I guess in terms of, I do want to spend more time in meditative experiences, but the whole sitting in the silence isn't, it can be extremely challenging. So I find that like getting out in nature also helps to get that centeredness and to get into that meditative state, doing morning pages, to just sitting in gratitude when the bear is sort of coming at you. It's I think there was a little bit of talk about the victim state and how it's kind of easy to spiral in there. So to really be conscious about gratitude every day and working on and leveraging the resources that I do have and not being so scared to do that. And then just limiting the scrolling. You know, just those things that I know that's wasting time. I'm just being really conscious about that.
So good. It's like the scrolling in and of itself adds to like everything that we're trying to combat. It's just like that just makes it worse, like blowing oxygen on the fire. So I love that. I'm excited to hear how that takes shape, but alone, I know what you mean about eliminating the inputs. I went to Prince Edward Island for 2 weeks in September, and I felt really compelled. Like I should not have any inputs between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. and then 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And it was like deafening. I felt like I was detoxing. Like it was really, really, really hard. I had no book, no music, no podcast, no nothing. And it was the best time of creativity, but it took, it really felt like not just a detox, but like a withdrawal. It's like you're coming off the drug of influence of everyone else in your life. And so, yeah, I'm excited to see how that actually like manifests in something really tangible. But I really love that.
Our nervous systems definitely get hopped up on it. That's for sure. It's interesting because I'm from Prince Edward Island, so that's really neat.
Are you? Oh, cool. Prince Edward Island is like this secret gem. Like, wow, it's so beautiful. I love that you're from there. All right, y'all. I know that we are way over time. I really, really want to honor that. What I had wanted to do here, had we had enough time, I'm actually just going to scroll here. So I don't know why there's these empty slides, but what I had wanted you guys to do is to actually go through and assign a current health ranking. So how healthy are you financially today, physically, emotionally, spiritually, relationally, professionally? And then what's your current priority ranking? So I might actually rank that my physical health is like a 7, but out of all of these, it's like a 4 on the priority level, or it might be a 10. So therefore, I'm going to really help focus on that. So this is just an audit. Remember how we were talking at the beginning of like, what's the baseline? Where are we starting from? And then the next piece here, which is who you need to help you. So with creating content every day, Kate, I actually have found I run into roadblocks with content because I don't feel like I've got enough good pictures associated with, like, I don't have any visual to assign with it. So who you might need to help you is actually getting your husband to take photos. Like, let's do a 61-day photo shoot, where we just get a ton of photos. Someone else who might need to help you, if you are looking to dedicate time, a new container of time, it might be employing your EA, or it might be employing even your partner and saying, hey, I actually need to start waking up at 5, or I actually need to start waking up at 6. Do you want to do that with me, or can you help me keep that boundary? So that's just kind of thinking through these will probably help us deepen. And even what you said, Crystal, I love around gratitude. The goal is that what we choose as our one thing touches a couple different one of these. Kate, if you're also looking to, yes, grow the professional side of your brand, but you're also trying to strengthen physically, could you actually start creating some reels like share your thoughts as you're walking every day? And that could just be, stuff like that. So how could we start tapping into these different buckets so that across the board, we're just raising our standard of experiencing life and showing up in a holistic way. So this is, I guess, kind of homework for us. I'll send a picture of this just as a reminder in the WhatsApp thread. Larkin and Crystal, if you guys can fill out the 61-day challenge so I get your phone numbers and emails, I'll go ahead and put the group together and send that out later today. There's some folks who did not join today, but they are a part of the group. Y'all share as much as you want for the purpose of we will engage with your content and cheer you on. And also just a status update. Thanks, Larkin, for filling that out. I really want us to be at the end of the 61-day challenge and be changed to some extent. And hey, if it works, keep going. I'm on day 216 of going live. Like, what we start that works, let's not stop it. Jim Collins talks about that from good to great. Whatever got you to good, don't stop doing it while you try to get to great. Like, keep doing what's working. So I'm really excited about this. Thank you all so much for joining. I'm going to start the WhatsApp thread. We'll get that. We start officially on Friday, but there's no time like the present if you want to start early. But that way we're ending Q1 on, April 1 is kind of the last day. And then we can decide if we want to take it on to Q2 and do a different challenge. We can always do that. So